On 26th of October, we're going to choose a new president, but on the same day, we're going to vote or on issue relates to blasphemy. And I think people are pretty much confused around what they're supposed to vote, what blasphemy means, why is that word taken from Constitution, and we will talk today to John Hamill from Atheist Ireland. John, can you hear me? Okay, that's good. Thanks for taking our call. You're supporting yes vote for blasphemy referendum, but before that, this is something that is in the Constitution as the Article 40.6.1, and is the whole referendum to take one word from it.
That's right. So the article that you refer to requires that a number of different things should be illegal in Ireland. So some of those are, for example, sedition or the publication of indecent matter. And within that list of things that must be made illegal is blasphemy. And the proposal is to remove that single word of blasphemy. Sorry, go ahead.
Blasphemy, just the shortly to say, means showing lack of respect to God or to any religious. Just to take it short version of it. So why is that you want that to be removed? In the same article, they say the right of the citizens to express freely their convictions and opinions, and then in the same article later on. Is saying, the publication or utterance of blasphemous or indecent matter is an offense which shall be punishable in according with law. So, first, can you tell me, okay, so you were for taking out the blasphemous from the Constitution. Tell me first why, and then tell me, what do you think about... I know you were saying that Ireland is one of the countries who have blasphemous law, but that's other countries like Canada has that as well. Why is that not for Atheist Ireland? Why is that not a good thing?
Sure. So the best principle I think to follow in this area is that no person is beneath respect, but no idea is above criticism. For sure, religious minorities deserve to be protected. We have legislation already to do that in Ireland. We have the Incitement to Hatred Act, which includes incitement to religious hatred. Even after we remove the blasphemy provision, we will still have protection for religious minorities. But what the blasphemy law does is it outlaws criticism of ideas, and particularly religious ideas. Mm-hmm. Lots of people in Ireland have lots of different ideas that they're committed to and that they sincerely believe in. But what blasphemy laws do is they draw a ring fence about religious ideas only, and say these ideas aren't open to criticism. And you're right that lots of other countries around the world have blasphemy laws, but Ireland is the only Western democracy to introduce a new blasphemy law. All of the other countries that have blasphemy laws tend to have very old provisions that are just anachronisms, whereas in Ireland we have a new blasphemy law that was passed in 2009. And this really brings us to the most important reason to remove the law, which is that after our legislation was brought in 2009, it was cited by Pakistan at the United Nations as best practice. Pakistan executes people for blasphemy. So there's a Christian lady called Asia Bibi who's currently on death row in Pakistan. And when campaigners are seeking the repeal of those provisions in Pakistan, when Western nations put pressure on countries like Pakistan to reform their laws around blasphemy, what's often quoted back is the specific verbatim language for the Irish blasphemy law. So when we launched our campaign, we had an open letter signed by 24 different people from around the world who are victims of these kind of oppressive blasphemy laws. And they explained exactly why it's very difficult for them to win reforms in their countries if Western nations like Ireland are introducing new blasphemy laws. So they've asked Ireland to repeal our blasphemy law in order to help their campaigns. And I don't think we should turn our back on people like Asia Bibi on death row in Pakistan. When people like that need our help, I think it's incumbent on us to show some kind of leadership. We're not really in a position to campaign for people like Asia Bibi and to ask Pakistan at the United Nations to change their blasphemy laws if we're introducing our own blasphemy laws.
Okay, so just to make sure, like if we change constitution and take the blasphemy out of the article in the constitution, in what way that will affect Defamation Act?
Yes, that's a good point. So there's 3 specific changes that we will make if we vote yes. The first you've already mentioned, which is we will remove one specific word, blasphemy, from the Constitution. The second is we will remove, as you mentioned, the provision in the Defamation Act, which provides for a €25,000 fine if anyone is guilty of making a blasphemous utterance.
And is that goes automatically, or actually the Parliament need to do it, or how? Because it's a law.
The guards need to investigate and bring people in front of the High Court to prosecute them. Not too long ago, the Roman Catholic Cardinal Cormac Murphy O'Connor said in a television interview that atheists are not fully human. And so I'm an atheist. That wasn't very nice for me to hear, but if someone hurts my feelings or offends my beliefs, I don't think the way to deal with that is
to go to jail.
Tell the guards and drag them in front of the High Court and fine them €25,000. I think in a democracy, I need to be adult enough to deal with that myself and to understand other people have differences of opinion from me. And I think the same is true of religious people. And actually, my sense is that most religious people agree with that. I know lots of people who are devout and pious followers of one faith or another, and it's very hard to find religious people who insist on fining others who disagree with their faith. Most of the religious people that I know just want to practice their own faith in their own way, in their own life, and have no interest in imposing their religion on anyone else. And they have no interest in dragging people in front of the High Court to fine them €25,000 if they say something that offends the religious idea.
Okay, but basically no one was prosecuted and no one was criminalized by this.
So that's true, and there's 2 reasons for that. So the first reason why we've had no successful prosecutions here in Ireland is that the media tends to self-censor themselves, and particularly the print media. So Atheist Ireland has agreed to write articles for various newspapers in the country, and when those articles are submitted, they're censored or deleted, or the newspaper refuses to publish them. So newspapers are businesses. They're not in the business of challenging laws, and if there's a suggestion that anything might be blasphemous, they're just inclined not to publish it. And the second reason is that one of the tests in the law for something to be considered blasphemous is that it must cause outrage among a substantial number of the adherents to a particular religion. And this is why Stephen Fry's prosecution didn't go ahead quite recently. So,
3 years ago, where it was 2015.
That's right. So the guards investigated a complaint against Stephen Fry for blasphemy, and they decided not to proceed with a prosecution because they couldn't find enough outraged people. Now, if you think about it, that really creates an incentive for people to become outraged. So, for example, when the last cartoon controversy sprang up, Ali Salim said that he would bring a blasphemy prosecution against anyone that published those cartoons. And the way our law is structured, if he wants to do that, he needs to get a substantial number of the adherents to his particular religion to show outrage. And the law shouldn't really be about incentivizing people to show outrage. It should be incentivizing people to have proportionate responses to things that offend them. So I think it's a good idea to repeal the law for that reason also.
Although people will say that actually the freedom of speech is more limited by defamation cases and money involved than actually any other things. I would just ask you for the end, what do you think, like, it is... what's the difference between, for example, there is a blasphemous, blasphemous is crime, for example, in Canada, that will consider such an open and liberal country, and they have then China, that is actually atheist state, officially will ban, for example, books that will be that insult Islam, and then we have Romania that have no blasphemy laws in force at all. It's kind of a bit surprised when you look into how countries are approaching this thing. And then you have Sweden who doesn't have anything, doesn't have prohibiting blasphemy. No act prohibiting blasphemy in the Swedish law, because they found that religion should be private matter.
Yes, so I think you're exactly right. And Canada, not unlike Ireland, inherited a lot of law from the British. And another good example of that actually is New Zealand. New Zealand also inherited a lot of law from the British, including a blasphemy law. And it was only when the Stephen Fry controversy hit international headlines that people in New Zealand realised that they still had a blasphemy law. So after the Stephen Fry controversy, New Zealand repealed their blasphemy law for that reason. And so, yes, hopefully in a few weeks' time, we can vote in a similar direction here in Ireland and catch up with the Kiwis.
Okay, so I'll just ask you at the end, what do you do in your campaign? Is it nationally and just doing the talks? What do you do in your campaign, quickly?
Yes, so we have a number of open meetings that we're holding around the country. I would encourage people to go to the campaign website, which is blasphemy.ie, and there you'll find details on all of the open meetings that we're holding, and also a lot of information about the history of blasphemy and how our blasphemy law came about and how we compare it to other countries, and lots of the reasons why we need to vote to repeal this law. That's blasphemy.ie.
Okay, John, thank you very much. So just quickly, do you have anything near Athlone that we can tell our listeners if they're interested in it?
Yes, so there's as I say, there's open meetings all over the country. I would suggest that if people can check the website, they'll be able to... Okay, we'll check that out and give that information. Sounds good.
John Hamill from Atheist Ireland. Sorry, did you want to add something?
No, I'm just saying thanks a lot for your help. I appreciate that.
John from Atheist Ireland support yes vote for upcoming blasphemy referendum. Thanks for being part of Athlone today.
Thanks. All the best.
All the best.